so we're tackling relationships this time.
Yeah.
And
a mountain of advice, right?
a mountain of advice. We're going deep on attracting the right partner and building something that lasts.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, you found a lot of sources for this one.
I did.
There's everything here. Self-help videos, vintage beauty guides, blog posts. We even have some expert advice from a sexologist and a couples psychologist.
It is really fascinating how,
Hey, I hope you're enjoying our conversation. We'll be right back. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. Unlock your best self. Ready to take the next step? For all the amazing women out there, we've got an exclusive mini course to help you step into confidence and truly attract the right partner. And for the men tuning in, there's an in-depth training to help you become the best version of yourself, inside and out. Just click the link in the description, and let's start this journey toward meaningful connections and real confidence. Don't miss it.
people, this topic just keeps coming up over and over again in
Right.
so many different contexts. I think you even included a couple of sources that are geared towards men,
Yeah,
which I thought, added a really interesting kind of a
it really does.
layer to the whole thing.
Yeah, because it really highlights how multifaceted this idea of finding and keeping love is. But I had to say one theme that kept popping up in pretty much all of the sources was this idea of self-confidence.
Right.
It's like this bedrock for everything else.
It's so interesting because, confidence, it's not just about feeling good. It actually has there's a scientific basis for it making you more attractive. There have been studies that have shown that people who are more confident tend to have more open body language, which then signals to other people subconsciously that you're someone who's, strong and resilient.
So it's not just like self-help mumbo jumbo. There's actual science to back it up.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
And I think from an evolutionary standpoint, self-confidence is often associated with resilience, which makes sense, right? You want to be with someone who's resilient.
Right. You want to be with someone who can weather those storms.
Right, exactly. Someone who's capable of kind of weathering life's storms and, bouncing back.
So it's almost like you're instinctively drawn to someone who just seems really secure and comfortable in their own skin.
Right, exactly.
Now, speaking of attraction, some of the sources had this advice that seemed a little contradictory at first, which was like, let go of trying to impress, but also keep the physical flame alive.
Yeah.
So how do you
reconcile those two?
Yeah, how do you reconcile those?
Yeah.
Because they seem a little bit at odds with one another.
I think, to connect that to what we were just talking about, it's like initial attraction, it might be sparked by those kind of superficial physical qualities, but to build something that really lasts, it seems like it needs more substance. Like shared values, emotional connection, those deeper layers that unfold over time.
So it's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not.
Right.
It's about being authentically,
Right.
quirks and all, but also putting your best foot forward.
Yeah,
still.
exactly.
Yeah. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that a lot of the sources talked about boundaries
Yes.
as being really important in a relationship, which I think sometimes people forget about. But one of the sources actually said this, and I thought it was brilliant. Boundaries are like the blueprint to your heart. And I was like, oh, that's so true.
That is good.
Because when you have clear boundaries, you're filtering out people who don't align with your values.
Right.
So you're kind of, protecting yourself in a way.
Absolutely, yeah. You're attracting those who respect you and your needs from the get-go.
Now, one of the things that really stood out to me from the self-help videos, and this was something I hadn't really thought of before, was how pursuing passions and interests
Yes.
can actually make you more attractive to potential partners.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is it the passion itself that's attractive, or is it just that passionate people tend to be more confident?
I think it might be a little bit of both, right?
I think so.
Like when you're genuinely excited about something, it just kind of shows.
Yeah.
You radiate a different kind of energy.
Right.
And I think that's naturally appealing to people.
And I think you're also more likely to meet people who share those passions, which can lead to new friendships, new connections. It's like you're creating this kind of positive feedback loop of confidence and growth.
That's a great point, yeah.
And it's not just about finding a partner. It's about living a fulfilling life that draws people in organically.
That's it.
You become the kind of person that someone wants to be around, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're genuinely living a life that you love.
You're living a life you love, and you're being yourself.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is a really powerful message. And it kind of ties into another piece of advice that resonated with me, which is enjoy the journey, not just the destination. So focus on personal growth, on becoming the best version of yourself, and love will kind of unfold naturally.
Yes, I love that.
When you're content with who you are.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
It's like you're inviting someone to complement your life, not complete it.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And that sense of wholeness, I think, is incredibly attractive.
Yeah.
It signals that you're not looking for someone to fix you or fill a void. You're just open to sharing your life with someone who adds to it.
Adds to it, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're this, empty vessel waiting to be filled.
Right, exactly.
You are already whole and complete.
Yes, I love that.
And someone else is just like the icing on the cake.
Exactly. And that's a really attractive quality, I think.
I think so, too.
It really is. So we've talked a lot about self-love and, being authentic and all of that
Right.
is being, really crucial in attracting the right partner.
But what happens when you actually start to feel those sparks?
Right.
Like, how do you nurture that connection and build something that actually lasts, especially once that, initial honeymoon phase fades
Right.
and real life sets in?
Yeah, I think that's when it gets really interesting because, it seems like lasting love, it's not just about finding the right person. It's about making a choice, like an active choice to build a life together.
Well, and one of the blog posts I read actually described it as choosing love every day.
I love that.
And I thought that was such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about those small everyday actions
Right.
that really demonstrate your commitment and affection for the other person.
It's not just something that happens to you. It's something that you're actively cultivating.
And it's funny because it kind of shifts the focus
Yeah.
from finding the perfect person
Right.
to becoming the right partner.
To being the right partner. Exactly.
Yeah,
And I think that's a really powerful shift in perspective.
it is. And it's like, instead of searching for someone to complete us, it's about recognizing that we're already whole and offering that wholeness to another person.
Exactly. And I think that sense of self-assuredness, knowing that you're enough, actually allows for a deeper level of intimacy because when you're confident in who you are, you're not as afraid to kind of let your guard down and be vulnerable.
And you know what? That actually makes me think of something that the sexologist mentioned, which is that confidence can actually make it easier to be vulnerable.
Right. It seems kind of counterintuitive.
It does seem counterintuitive.
But she was saying that, when you feel good about yourself, you're not so worried about projecting this perfect image all the time.
So it's okay to let those imperfections show.
It's okay to be messy, yeah.
And you're more open to sharing those messy parts of yourself because you know that your worth isn't dependent on hiding them.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, hey, this is me, take it or leave it.
Right.
And there's something really attractive about that kind of authenticity, I think.
I agree, because I think true connection requires vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
It's about allowing someone to see you for who you truly are, flaws and all.
Flaws and all.
And I think that takes courage.
It does take courage, and it doesn't happen overnight. One of the articles actually talked about, starting small.
Yeah.
Share something you're a little insecure about. Express a fear and see how your partner responds.
See how they react.
Are they listening? Are they empathetic? Or are they judgmental?
Yeah, those early interactions, I think, can be really telling.
Very telling.
Because they reveal a lot about your partner's character.
And it seems like a recurring theme in all of these sources is this importance of emotional intelligence
Yes.
in a relationship,
Absolutely.
which I think is so important.
It's not just about book smarts, right?
Right.
It's about being able to understand and manage emotions, both your own and your partner's.
Well, and one blog post I read actually had these tips on how to spot emotional intelligence in someone
Oh, interesting.
before you even start dating.
Okay.
Like how they treat wait staff
Okay, yeah.
or their reaction when someone's upset, things like that.
Like gathering intel on how they navigate the world, how they handle difficult situations, which I think is valuable information to have.
It's really good information because once you've kind of built that trust,
Right.
that emotional foundation,
Yes.
how do you keep that communication flowing?
That's a great question.
Especially as a relationship evolves and you face new challenges.
Yeah, I think that's where active listening comes in.
Actively.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying our conversation. We'll be right back. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. Unlock your best self. Ready to take the next step? For all the amazing women out there, we've got an exclusive mini course to help you step into confidence and truly attract the right partner. And for the men tuning in, there's an in-depth training to help you become the best version of yourself, inside and out. Just click the link in the description and let's start this journey toward meaningful connections and real confidence. Don't miss it.
Listening.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
It's not just about talking at each other. It's about really trying to understand your partner's perspective, even if you don't agree with them.
Right. Even if you don't agree.
Which can be hard.
It can be hard.
But it's so important.
Well, in one of the books I read actually described it as seeking to understand before being understood.
That's good.
I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
It's about asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you hear, and just making sure you're both on the same page.
Because I think when you're speaking different languages, so to speak,
right.
Misunderstandings can pile up.
Misunderstandings, resentment.
Resentment builds, and it can create this huge gulf between two people.
And then suddenly you're living parallel lives instead of sharing one.
Right, exactly. But when you master that communication, when you feel truly heard and understood, that's when you can unlock a whole new level of intimacy, I think.
And it's those late night talks.
Yes.
Sharing your dreams, your fears, those really vulnerable parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Knowing that the other person is not just listening, but they get it.
They get it, yeah.
That's so powerful.
That's a really beautiful thing.
It is. It creates such a deep sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Of being safe to be your authentic self.
Exactly.
And I think when you have that foundation of trust and understanding, it makes it so much easier to navigate those inevitable challenges that come with any long-term relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's be honest, communication isn't always easy.
No.
Even with the best intentions, we all make mistakes.
We do.
We say things we regret, we misunderstand each other, and that's where forgiveness comes in.
Yes, forgiveness is so important.
So important.
It's about recognizing that we're all human.
We're all human.
We all mess up sometimes.
And choosing to extend grace and compassion to our partner even when they mess up.
Even when they mess up, yeah. Because they're going to.
They're going to. We all do.
We all do.
And one of the experts actually called forgiveness the ultimate act of love.
I love that.
And I thought, you know what? That's so true. Because it is a choice.
It's a choice.
It's saying, I see your flaws, I see your mistakes, and I love you anyway.
And I think that kind of unconditional love creates a safe space for both partners to grow and evolve.
It does.
It allows for mistakes and steps without that fear of judgment or rejection.
Which kind of brings us to another essential ingredient, I think, in lasting love, which is supporting each other's personal growth.
Yes. This is so huge.
Because we're all constantly changing.
We are shedding old versions of ourselves.
Shedding old versions of ourselves and becoming someone new.
And a truly healthy relationship, I think, encourages that growth.
Yes.
It doesn't try to stifle it.
So it's not about trying to change each other.
Right.
It's like you become each other's cheerleaders.
Yes, I love that.
Celebrating the wins.
Yeah.
Offering comfort during tough times. And just creating this space where it's safe to explore new passions and interests.
You're getting it. It's like having this built-in safety net, someone who believes in you even when you doubt yourself. Yeah. And that can give you the courage to take risks and step outside your comfort zone.
Because you know that even if you fall, they'll be there to catch you.
Right, exactly.
And that's just incredible.
It's a beautiful thing. It creates this incredible sense of security and stability, knowing that you have that unwavering support no matter what. And I think that is such fertile ground for a relationship to truly flourish.
I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, so we're back and we're ready to really dive into the nitty-gritty of keeping that spark alive in a relationship, especially when you've been together for a while.
Right, because anybody can, sweep you off your feet in the beginning.
Right.
But how do you keep that passion going over time?
Yeah. What are the secrets?
So, one thing that really stood out to me from a lot of the sources was this idea of just making time for each other.
Okay.
And it sounds basic.
It does sound basic.
But I think it's something that's so easy to let slip.
Oh, it is.
Especially as life gets busier and,
Right. Work, kids, errands, you name it.
All of it. And I think one of the sources even suggested, scheduling date nights, no matter how long you've been together.
So